Hi, this is Alan, also known as the Lone Stranger, back with another episode of the Sometimes Show. In this one, I would like to start with a poem I wrote this morning, but it was the culmination of several days of struggle and reflection and efforts at trying to understand. So let me read the poem. It's called Temp, Temp. Temporary solutions. All I have now. But really, all I ever had. And all I'll ever have. All I have to offer, my girls. Fourth and fifth grade won't come back again. Temporary is permanent. I weep. And at last, start to breathe again. I move now in peace and purpose. One heartbeat at a time. Where did this reflection come from? These verses come from? There was an incident, there was an explosion about a week ago. My fourth grader decided that she was absolutely not going to go online for her classes. We tried to negotiate with her, and screaming, almost in tears, she said she refused to go back to that stupid system. She said it was a stupid system, and she called her teacher evil, and she would not even turn on her laptop. So my first thought was, how could this happen? My girls are in Boulder Valley School District, one of the most affluent districts in the nation, certainly. The average annual budget per student in this school district is about $22,500. About $10,000 a year more than the national average. And so my first thoughts were critical of the school district. And I wrote an email and sent it to the district superintendent, who referred me to the assistant principal of the program in which my girls find themselves, which is Boulder Universal. And they don't just find themselves there. I chose that for them because I thought, wow, last spring, having them in that online program that was put forward in a hurry did not work. So this time I have an option. The school district gave me an option to choose a platform for them that was designed for online learning. Well, after a conversation with the assistant principal, I realized that there's really no immediate solution, and my immediate concern is math, is to close the math gap. And I really drilled down into the system that's being offered to them, and I have to agree with my daughter, with my fourth grader. I will not use the same term because we do not use in general the term stupid for anything or anybody. in our lives. She did that time. I will not use the term evil relating to teachers. I do not think they are. So I was still confronted with the problem of understanding. The first step was just to take ownership. As the book Extreme Ownership describes, leaders must own their world. There's no one else to blame. So I looked at myself and I realized all the opportunities I've missed since the beginning of the COVID crisis to really focus exclusively on the needs of my girls. To the best of my ability, obviously, I have to take care of finances, to make them my priority, to make them, their education in particular, my first priority, my responsibility. So once I got beyond blaming the school district and the superintendent and the assistant principal and teachers, I began to find the way out. I began to find a solution, and in subsequent episodes of the Sometimes Show, I will share these with parents because that, first of all, is my priority. We, as parents, caregivers, grandparents, foster parents, we as the individuals responsible for the day-to-day of the kids are the only ones that come anywhere close to being able to move fast enough, to be agile enough to address the problems and to do what needs to be done to close the gaps. In this particular case, the math gap for my girls. So once I did that, I realized that I could take specific steps, and I did begin to take specific steps, setting aside my concerns about the national political situation, about the worldwide financial situation, about the COVID crisis, and just saying, what can I do that will make a difference? And then I realized I had something to share with parents. And I also realized I had something to share with the individuals who are, I believe, doing their best to make things work right in Boulder Valley School District and in Boulder Universal and in every school. What I realized was that, pointing the finger back at myself, I had begun to think of these times as temporary. They are not. That's what my poem is about. Regardless of what may develop with the health crisis and the financial crisis and the political crisis and all the crises that are going on now, regardless of what happens in a month, in a year, number one, no one really knows for sure. And number two, the only valid solution for kids is to deal with the present, to do what we can to solve the problem now. So as for the school district, inasmuch as I find time to do it, I will engage with them because there are ways to morph, to evolve, to change into a better system, but it's not going to happen overnight. There are better solutions. But what we have in school districts is cruise liners, or maybe you might want to call them battleships, or aircraft carriers. Whatever you call them, they do not turn on a dime. They will not be able to adjust, be agile enough to make changes overnight, which literally is what my girls have to have. They have to have changes now. And they already have. I've already implemented some solutions for math, and I will share those with parents in the future so that parents can avail themselves of tools and opportunities and possibly my help if that's needed to save a few. I realize that I cannot save all, but it is my responsibility to save two. And if I can build an ark or a fleet of arks, those ships that sailed through the flood and made it to a new life, if I can do that for a few other kids, then all the better. So let me glance at my notes here. I took some notes this morning, and I just wanted to add that the temptation when we confront these problems is to look outward and to demonize other people. And that is something, fellow citizens, brothers and sisters, parents, grandparents, that is something we cannot afford to do. A week or so back, I was dialoguing with a friend whose political opinions are pretty much diametrically opposed to mine. And he said, we must not give oxygen to the cancerous, radical, now you can fill in the blank, the cancerous, radical this or that, the cancerous, radical left, the cancerous, radical right. It is not a time to do that, just like it's not a time to believe that the solutions we're developing now are temporary. It is not a time to believe that the problems can be solved by demonizing some other people, because the right is people, the left is people. So my goal, to communicate with people, to enter into dialogue, to respect them as human beings, no matter what their political position, no matter where they lie on the spectrum, but to dialogue with them, because it is only in cooperating with one another that we can build the arcs the kids need now to make it through the storm, to close their math gap, to close the learning gaps in the other subjects, social studies, science, history, geography, language arts, all of these things. To close those gaps for them, we cannot afford to expend our energy in hate talk, in hateful actions, in destructive actions. Let us communicate with one another. And if we cannot communicate with one another, let us at least work together for the kids. That's what I had to share with you, and I wanted you to understand where I'm coming from as I get into specifics about what you can do as a parent or grandparent or someone in charge of helping with the education of a child, what you can do with math and what you can do with other subjects. So that's it for now. Signing off, and if you didn't catch the poem at the beginning, I will end this session with another reading of the poem. It's called Temp, T-E-M-P, Temp. Temporary solutions, all I have now, but really all I ever had, and all I'll ever have. All I have to offer my girls. 4th and 5th grade won't come back again. Temporary is permanent. I weep. And at last, start to breathe again. I move now in peace and purpose, one heartbeat at a time. Well, signing off, this is Alan, also known as the Lone Stranger, with this episode of the Sometimes Show. Be well, prosper, and respect fellow humans.